I'm going to share my screen here. We have some slides for you. So as I said, I'm with the North Carolina Office of Recovery and Resiliency, or NCORE. NCORE is a state agency in the Department of Public Safety, and our resilience team within NCORE works with agencies across state government and with local governments across the state to help build resilience locally and statewide. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Nicole Goddard, with the NCORE Resilience Team, and I'm also joined by Allison Whitaker with the State Climate Office of North Carolina. And we are also lucky to have a number of partners with us across the state that are going to be part of our cohort program. And so you'll hear from all those folks today, in addition to me. I will start by saying that we're recording this webinar. I think you probably got a notice when you first joined. We're going to share a link to the online recording once we have it posted, and we hope you'll share it with your colleagues across the state, because we know not everybody can make any random time that we pick throughout the week for a meeting. So the purpose of our webinar today is to introduce you to a new technical assistance program called the Planning for Extreme Heat Cohort. And as many of you know, and I suspect that's why you're joining us today, is that year over year, North Carolina residents are experiencing higher heat index values. They're also experiencing more warm nights and more heat waves. And these warmer days and nights, combined with the humidity we have in North Carolina, are presenting a risk to our health and our livelihoods across the state. We're also seeing that as these temperatures increase, our residents and our building owners and our businesses all are using more energy to cool these spaces, and not all households and businesses are prepared for these increasing energy costs. So these are just a few of the impacts we're seeing from extreme heat, and I'm thrilled that you all are joining us today, because that signals to me that you want to begin addressing extreme heat in your community. So we're really thankful for that. Our goal with the Planning for Extreme Heat cohort is to help you all establish a network to support you as you write planning documents, as you select heat mitigation measures, and as you implement projects. And I also want to stress that this is going to be a program where we bring in experts to talk to you and share their knowledge, but we also recognize that all of you have we all deal with heat, every single one of us, on a daily basis throughout the heat season. And we all have our own set of expertise, and we're working with communities. And so we want to encourage everyone to share and create a nice knowledge sharing network as we create resources. So over the next 20 minutes or so, Allison, Nicole, and I are going to review the program details with all of you, and then we'll ask our partnering organizations to share a bit about themselves. Then we'll open it up for questions, and we'll encourage you to put questions in the chat as we go. And I think you all should be able to either just put questions in the chat, or you'll be able to unmute yourself to ask questions. So please do so. This point, we can keep this informal. We definitely want to give you a chance to ask those questions today. So I mentioned a few partners. They're all listed here. We have the Department of Health and Human Services, the Duke University Heat Policy Innovation Hub. We have the Coastal Resilience and Sustainability Initiative, along with the NOAA Carolinas Climate Adaptation Partnership, and the Carolinas Collaborative on Climate Health and Equity. So you'll be getting to know folks from all of these organizations, and they'll be here, they'll become your friends, and they'll be there to support you as you're developing your resources. So we're really, again, building out a network for you. So the Planning for Extreme Heat cohort is a follow-up to the release of the Heat Action Plan Toolkit, which I believe Allison is going to put a link to in the chat. The Heat Action Plan Toolkit was released by NCORE in the State Climate Office in April of this year on Earth Day, April 22nd. And many of the partners that I listed on that previous slide helped us develop, actually all the partners on the previous slide helped us develop that toolkit. And so, we created this resource for you, and now we want to help you use it. And so throughout the program, we'll introduce you to the resources in the toolkit, help you use them. Of course, there are plenty, and I have them listed here on the left or on the right side of the screen: the sample checklist, the community surveys, the sample graphics, fact sheets, and brochures. But the one we'll spend the most time with is on the left side of the screen, the heat action plan template. And this template provides draft text and instructions, and it's formatted, and so it's pretty much ready for you to go, but there's some pieces you'll need to fill in. And so to give you a sense of that, I'm going to share a slide that has a bunch of text on it. Please don't try to read this text. That's not the point of the slide. Instead, the point is for me to give you a sense of the text that's in the template and how you can use it. So this top text here, the black text, is ready for you to use. You're welcome to tweak it, of course. This will be in a Word document. You can make it fit your community, but we think it's probably ready for your final plan. This gold text provides instruction. So in this example, it's giving you some background on why this section, who is most at risk, is important to include in your plan. Once you read it and you understand it, you can just delete it from the Word document and keep going. And so this next black text is showing some brackets. So the point of this is to show that, so like in this sentence, for example, whether you'll choose map statistics or tables based on which kind of data you decide to show to represent who is most at risk in your community. And then that second bracket is where you'll fill in the name of your jurisdiction. And this last set of gold text points you to additional resources to help you fill out this section. And so here for the who at most is risk block of the introduction of the template, we're going to walk you through Appendix A. We'll help you understand where there are vulnerable populations at risk of heat-related illness in your community, and we'll help you understand how to interpret that and how to pick mitigation plans based on, or mitigation actions based on that. So you can see this is really laid out for you, and we hope you'll find it useful. And so we'll definitely be looking for your input as well as we go through the template. All right, so that's the bulk and the sort of end goal of the cohort program, is to have some kind of draft plan by the end of the program. So you'll be ready to have adopt this plan or start using it in time for heat season 2025. During our cohort program sessions, we will also be covering how heat impacts residents from a health perspective. We know many of you are health preparedness coordinators, and you offer expertise in that too. So we'll ask you to share those resources and help your colleagues along the way. We'll talk some about the federal and state policy frameworks. We'll talk some about the Stafford Act. There's been some conversations about that nationally and how it does and does not relate to heat. We'll also talk about state and local hazard mitigation plans. Many of you may be part of the regional hazard mitigation plans that are being updated across the state this year and into next year. So we'll talk about how that relates to extreme heat and can be tied in and connected to your heat action plan. And then we'll look at data and talk about how to understand that data. And we'll look at funding opportunities, and we'll look at all the different mitigation actions or projects you can use to help your community manage extreme heat. And so much more. So we're going to cover a lot, and so we hope you'll find it useful. Okay, so more on a logistical standpoint, the cohort programming will include 1.5-hour sessions each week. So we're going to have a kickoff program on December 16th, the kickoff session. So we encourage you to hold this on your calendars, December 16th from 2 to 3:30. If you're accepted into the program, we'll send you a calendar invite for that time. But because it's coming up quickly, we definitely encourage you to block that on your calendar now. We'll use that December meeting as introductory to get you kind of set up with what we plan to cover and let you meet your cohort participants, and we'll go over what a heat action plan generally looks like, and it'll just get your mind starting to mettle on the heat action planning process. And then starting January 6th, we'll start with Gusto with these weekly cohort sessions through the middle of April. We do plan to record all of the meetings in case you need to miss some. We'll post them in a shared SharePoint. In addition to those virtual sessions, and I emphasize this will all be virtual, nothing will be in person, since they'll be coming from across the state. But we will be hosting weekly office hours. So in addition to those hour-and-a-half virtual sessions, which we will highly encourage you all to attend if you're able to, we'll also have these open office hours where Nicole and Allison and I will just open up a Teams meeting, and you can come at any point during that hour. You can ask questions. You can choose to not show up if you don't have any questions. So we'll just be there for you. And then during the cohort program, January 6th to the 18th, there'll be a couple weeks here and there where we don't have a virtual session, and instead we're going to have individual community meetings so that we can meet with your teams one-on-one, and we can have a kind of informal check-in process and see where we can help. And then additionally, after each weekly virtual session, we're going to send a follow-up activity, or a set of follow-up activities, plural. And we'll often give you time during the virtual sessions to complete those activities, but you will need to set aside some time outside of those weekly meetings to ensure you understand the content, to draft parts of your plan, to start building relationships with local partners. So definitely plan on that. We're estimating that that participants will spend about 7 hours a week on average on the program, and so that will vary from week to week, but that does include the in-session time, the hour-and-a-half virtual meetings, and the time to complete the follow-up activities. So as you work on your draft heat action plan, we are going to encourage you to establish frameworks for receiving input from the community and from partners. So I'm guessing most of you have been through community engagement processes with planning documents. That's exactly what we're talking about here. So during the program, we'll review different options for gathering input, but one that we hope you'll implement is a heat relief task force. And this task force will include a diverse set of community members to help you improve the usefulness of the plan. Throughout the cohort schedule, we'll encourage you and help you develop resources for hosting about 5 or so task force meetings. But of course, we look to you based on what works for your community. We'll help you set up agendas for those meetings and develop the PowerPoint slides and the content for those meetings. So we'll try to make it a bit easier on you to kind of combine everything all at once. So after the cohort and after you have a plan in place, you could rely on this task force to meet perhaps one time a year in advance of the heat season, to coordinate programs, or even after the heat season to evaluate the impact of those programs. You could also use them more regularly to help you oversee the implementation of the heat action plan. So the people that serve on this task force are going to, I suspect that you will rely on them to help you implement some heat actions or implementation strategies, so that it's not all up to the local government to implement all the actions in the plan. We definitely need partners for this to work. And then finally, throughout the program, we want to leave a lot of space for you to develop this plan on your own timeline, to insert your own creativity, especially into the actions that you choose, and to put your own local flavor on the plan. So we certainly encourage that. All right, and now I'm going to pass this over to Nicole Goddard, my colleague at NCORE.
Andrea. I'm Nicole Goddard. I'm the Resilience Outreach and Engagement Manager at NCORE. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the benefits of the program and then introduce you to several of the subject matter experts who will be participating in the program with us. As Andrea mentioned, Andrea, I think you went there. Okay. As Andrea mentioned, the Heat Action Plan Toolkit was published earlier this year, and it's available and accessible. But participating in the cohort offers additional benefits for North Carolina communities. In addition to having these experts on hand, sharing information with you, and you'll be able to build skills and knowledge about where to access resources and information to support your plan and heat mitigation activities in your communities. And you'll build relationships with one another. Everybody will come into the cohort with their own experiences and knowledge and information about what has worked and not worked in their communities in the past. And we encourage you to share that with one another and build a network with one another to support the implementation of your plans into the future. And so really trying to build those networks and partnership, and so that everybody who's participating is working together toward their goals of for heat mitigation. Andrew, can you move to the next slide? Thanks. So now I will hear a little bit from our partner agencies, and I'll ask them each to come in to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about the work that they're doing on heat in North Carolina. We'll start with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, and we're joined today by Autumn Locklear and Nikhil Kothagal. And so Autumn and Nikhil, can you please share your work? Oh, Autumn, I think
we can't hear you, Autumn. We were having some tech issues with joining the WebEx. Sorry, I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear Autumn. She might be trying to get her microphone working, but basically, so I'm new to the team, but Autumn is our epidemiologist on the climate and health team over here at the Occupational and Environmental Epidemiology branch at DHHS. And we've been working to provide a lot of resources on heat-related illness and heat alerts. So we have expertise in that regard, and basically every week, Autumn in the summer months is providing these alerts to our partners, and then we provide these surveillance reports on heat-related illnesses using NC Detect data, and we're in the process of reviewing an annual report for this entire summer month. So basically, we just want to be here to support NCORE and the heat cohort with any kind of additional resources that we can provide, as well as kind of discussion on how our reports are used and some of the heat thresholds and things like that. So
are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was struggling at first. I couldn't join on the computer. I tried joining by phone, and then you weren't able to hear me on the phone, so I came back to the computer. But yeah, so I'm Autumn Locklear. I'm the climate and health epidemiologist, and I produce the weekly heat-related illness surveillance reports. And also during the summer, I implement the heat health alert system, where we send out alerts if the heat index is forecasted to meet or exceed the predefined heat threshold.
Thank you, Autumn and Nikhil. Next, we have Jordan Clark from the Duke University Heat Policy Innovation Hub. Jordan, are you able to?
Yeah, hey everyone. Jordan Clark, Senior Policy Associate and Climatologist working over at the Heat Hub at Duke University. Just as Autumn was mentioning, actually, those thresholds for the warning system, we were involved with that project and really kind of analyzing the data and stuff there, which is a big part of my own background. But our work at the Hub includes that, as well as a lot of recent work specifically evaluating heat action plans at different levels of government, from local to state to federal, and this includes international ones as well. So quite a broad array through an ongoing project we have with the United Nations to try and make a framework and kind of enable better heat management of heat crises through these heat action plans. So I will be able to hopefully bring in a lot of kind of that, and a lot of some of the tangible solutions and ideas and strategies that we've kind of been able to identify, as well as thinking through kind of like non-public partners to try and incorporate into this process for like really robustly managing the challenge that is heat. But I'm also a climatologist, so I work with a lot of climate data, temperature data, heat data, and so I kind of have a large amount of experience drawing insights from just data analysis. So like those thresholds, for instance, just trying to get like tangible, actionable insights from the broad array of data that is out there now. It increases every day. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here and help.
Thanks so much, Jordan. And last but not least, Rebecca Ward from North Carolina State University's Coastal Resilience and Sustainability Initiative and the NOAA Carolinas Collaborative on Climate, Health, and Equity. Rebecca, are you able to come off mute?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I wrote my script out so I would be on time here. So thank you for the introduction. So I was involved and helped develop the North Carolina Heat Action Plan Toolkit. So one of the things I'm really excited about is just having that familiarity. So if there's any help with navigating the toolkit, I'm happy to provide that assistance. Where I work at NC State University, one of the things I've been involved in is working with communities in North Carolina to do asset mapping and vulnerability assessments for all kinds of hazards, among them heat. So this is something I care very deeply about and have that familiarity with. And so I'm here to support this, such as through technical expertise to identify and find climate data or other types of information that might be important for the developing your own heat action plan. So yeah, very excited to see this come together.
Great. Thanks so much, Rebecca. So as you can see, we have a broad range of experts from across North Carolina that are working in planning and policy and science and data to help you all understand and apply the data to your planning process. And so we're really excited that they've all agreed to join this effort and participate and be a resource for all the participants. So if we can move to the next slide, Andrea, thanks. And so our main goal is that this cohort really works for you, that you all can give us feedback at any time. As Andrea mentioned, there are going to be a lot of touch points, not only weekly having the cohort meetings, but in office hours. You can email or call Andrea, Allison, and myself with any questions or concerns that you're having about participating in the cohort. But there will also be a few opportunities that we're building in to the program to get some input from you all as well. So the first, we're going to do some knowledge assessments. Now, this is nothing that anybody needs to prepare for, but it will give us a sense of where everybody is coming into the cohort and where we might want to spend time and address some of the elements of the course more in depth. And then at the end of the cohort, we will do the same knowledge assessment just to see how the group's knowledge has progressed. So again, not a quiz. We're not evaluating anyone's participation. This is for us to understand how the cohort works to advance the group's knowledge. Second, we'll be doing a midpoint program survey, and this will give you an opportunity to let us know if there are any of the concepts we've covered so far that you might still have questions about or want more information on, or if the timing and the structure of the cohort is working for you. And so we'll be able to adjust we'll be able to adjust the following sessions based on feedback from there. So this is really about improving the overall delivery of the cohort model and all of the different agenda items we're covering. Finally, we'll do an endpoint program survey. We'll take that and use that as we go forward, thinking about the next cohort. Does the structure work? Is it too short, too long? So we'll get that input from you as well. We will be giving you time in the sessions to complete all of these things. So just, surveys tend to work best for response gathering when we have people as a quote unquote captive audience. And then finally, the last one, we'll do a 12-month follow-up. So we will get in touch and schedule a meeting or a phone call in 2026 at some point to see how your work on heat mitigation is progressing. And if you have any questions, or if we can connect you to any additional resources. And that's really just for us to see, is the cohort, leading to greater heat mitigation planning and action in your communities. Again, no pressure. We're not evaluating the participants of a cohort on any of these things. These are simply to make sure that we're meeting our goals for the cohort, so that we can help support you all to be successful. Now I'm going to hand it over to Allison Whitaker from the State Climate Office of North Carolina.
Thanks, Nicole. So let's review some of the participation requirements. We are estimating that it will take about 7 hours per week, including our weekly meetings. On average, that means you'll be dedicating between 2 and 12 hours, depending on the week. And once you're accepted into the program, we'll share the detailed syllabus so that you can go ahead and block your calendars as needed. We want to make sure that you're prepared in advance. And I want to mention the cooperative agreement. So this is a formality that says the community does not need to pay anything to participate, and that you can withdraw from the program at any time. So let's move on to eligibility. Applicants or staff can be elected officials from the city, town, and county governments in North Carolina, and unincorporated towns are welcome to apply. We are asking, though, that only one application is submitted per team. And if you're a community organization, please apply in partnership with a local government. The program will ask you to list up to 2 colleagues who will participate in the program with you. And we highly encourage these teams to be made up of 2 local government staff and 1 community partner, but we're also open to other combinations of participants. You know what will work best for your community. And the benefit of this team approach is, number 1, it's a lot more fun to work together as a team. Number 2, you'll feel better when you have colleagues to work with and share the burden of the project or share the responsibilities. And you can make the plan more well-rounded when you have people to bounce ideas off of and who understand your community. So let's move on to the application process. There is a single application form with 13 questions. If you click on the application link, you can see all the questions. And do note that we will ask about your team's availability for meetings, so please check with them before you complete the application. The application deadline is Wednesday, December 4th at 11:59 p.m. And I will drop the application link once Andrea has covered some more advice about filling out your application. So over to you, Andrea.
Andrea, you may.
Apologies, I needed to stop sharing to be able to unmute myself, evidently. And I will say that we will not be using WebEx for our program. We had to do that to manage registration for this. So my apologies for that slight delay, and we are back. Okay, so as Allison said, we have this hopefully application form that is not too overwhelming. It's mostly, the demographic information for you to tell us about your community and yourselves and who might be part of your team. But we have 3 essay questions. One is describe the programs and resources your community currently offers to help residents manage extreme heat. You may not know yet, and that's okay, and feel free to state that. All these I will say that all of these essay questions will not help us determine your qualification for the program. We will not evaluate your answers to select who's coming into the program. Instead, we're going to use this to tailor the sessions so that we can help you get to the point where you're ready for writing a plan. So again, the second question is list any community partners that have stated an interest. This gives us a sense of who you might be working with in your community. And then the last one is to describe support you have from your leadership. I will say, despite what I said earlier, it's really important for you to have support from your leadership for writing a climate action plan. So if you respond in the application that you do not have any support for writing a climate action plan, we're going to give you a call before we accept you into the program, because we want to see what that means and dig a bit deeper. And maybe you just haven't had a chance to have the conversation yet, or maybe you're experiencing a lot of frustration at the local level from getting support for your leadership for X, Y, and Z reasons. But we'll want to hear about those reasons and see if there are things that we can help you with, or if they are not things we can help you with. So start talking to your leadership now to make sure you have support for this. By the end of the program, we're really hoping that you'll have a draft plan that's like ready for adoption, and that your leadership will want to adopt that plan that you've spent so much time working on. We put 250 word limits on this. So it's because we don't want you to spend a ton of time on it. We just want you to give us some basic information. You know, you don't, this is not something, again, that we're evaluating to pick who's going to be accepted into the program. It's merely for information purposes. Okay, with that, so here's a lovely QR code if you want to see the Heat Action Plan Toolkit. I think we also put a draft, I'm sorry, we also put a link in the chat, and I think Allison is sharing a link to the application. Again, that's due December 4th. This is our contact information if you guys want to have separate phone calls with us in advance of that application being due. But at this time, I'm going to stop sharing and so that you all can ask us questions. Okay, do we have any questions in the chat? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. One thing I want to clarify, I think we haven't mentioned yet, is that so there's some kind of vague language in the application and the program description that says that, you know, it's first come, first serve on applications. So what that means is that we encourage you to apply as quickly as possible, or you know, and the sooner you apply and the sooner your application comes in, the better chance you'll have it being accepted. The limitation we have is capacity. We expect we'll only be able to support between 8 and 12 communities. So we're going to see how many applications come in. If we get, say, 20 applications, we may divide you into 2 cohorts where we run one this spring and one this summer. But we're going to kind of evaluate that as we watch the applications come in. So if you apply and you're ready and willing, we want to do everything we can to get you into the program. But we are running this without any additional funding, and so we're doing the best we can, and we still have a goal to help you all move forward on your application process and move forward on your planning process.
There's a question in the chat from Joshua Hallowell saying, it says town and city, can this be a county?
Absolutely. Yep. So the term, I think we've also used the term local government. So that includes county governments, city and town governments. And as Allison mentioned earlier, unincorporated towns are also welcome to apply.
All the questions are rolling in now. One, if additional partners that would like to join once they've started can be accepted.
Absolutely. So again, as Allison mentioned, you know, we're hoping you'll have 2 to 3 people from your jurisdiction participate actively in the program. And we also know that, I mean, we're going to be running these virtual sessions, and sometimes you're going to want to invite one partner depending on the topic, and another time you may want to invite another partner. So, you know, I think what we want is to have 2 to 3 core continuous participants throughout the program. And we would love for you to invite people to random meetings as it makes sense, as you see the agenda throughout and the syllabus throughout the session, throughout the program.
And Libby has asked if she'd be interested to see who else from her community has expressed interest and if that would be possible.
Sure, absolutely. Give us a call or send us an email, Libby, and we can take a look. And I mean, I think I've seen, as I've been watching the applications, there's already a few that have come in. I've seen a couple come in from the same community. And so what I'll probably do is email those people together and say, did you, because I think it was maybe a little bit confusing in our application process that we really only expect to have one application per community. But we also know that in bigger cities, maybe where it's harder to know who's applying and interested. So we can help facilitate that, that process too. Right, and I see Kariana, you're saying, yes, we have a core team idea. We were thinking about our homeless outreach programs to join for some input. Absolutely. That's a core group that should be involved if they're active in your community. We're definitely worried about homeless residents in our state, or houseless residents. Right, I'll mention one other thing as we maybe wrap up here, because I'm not seeing more questions. The last thing I'll mention is that Allison, stated that we're anticipating participants will spend on average about 7 hours a week doing extreme heat planning activities. But that varies, as she said, from maybe 2 hours a week to 12 hours a week. Like if it's a week where you're hosting an extreme heat task force meeting, that's going to be a heavier week. But the purpose of having more than one person as part of your team is that maybe not everyone needs to spend 12 hours that week. So there's not going to be 36 hours dedicated to the program. Instead, you can kind of divide and conquer a little bit. There'll definitely be some overlap, but I think as a general rule, think about between 2 and 12 hours a week with 7 hours on average.
Question in the chat about when we'll be notifying people that they've been accepted.
Good question. So we hope to do that very quickly. So the applications are due December 4th. And so I'm pulling up a calendar here. So we have the kickoff meeting Monday, December 16th. So we hope to let you know early the week of the 9th of December, whether or not you'll be able to participate in the program. And we're monitoring applications as they come in. So we're having a sense of who can participate. So we'll definitely keep you all posted as quickly as we can.